What if your heartbreak was actually setting you up for your purpose? Today's guest turned pain into creativity, and her story is both real and powerful. Nikki Allen is an author, singer, songwriter, and filmmaker who uses her experiences to tell honest stories about love, identity, and healing. Her novel, Love You, Hated You, was inspired by real life heartbreak and explores why people stay in unhealthy relationships and how they can find a way back to themselves. Through her work, Nikki reminds us that healing starts with self love, and sometimes the hardest experiences lead to the greatest growth. Please join me in welcoming Nikki Allen. Let's get into it. Hello, Nikki, and thank you for joining the Influence Exchange today. How are you?
I am well, and I'm very excited to be on your show.
And I'm happy that you're here today. Thank you again. Nikki, you are an author, singer, songwriter, filmmaker, and creator. That's a blessing. Talk to us about that a little bit,
It
please.
sounds so fake. It's like you just you think you can do it all. And it's so funny because when people ask me just in general, what do you do? I have to go. Well, it depends on the day.
Sure, sure, sure.
Literally, like there are days, there are music days, and there are film days, and there nonprofit days, and I have another big event coming up that you don't know about. But so I'm working on all
Mm.
these different things, and I'm releasing new music in June. So it depends on the day.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Listen, I wish I had that many talents. If I try to sing right now, forget about it. I'm I'm gonna get thrown away. At all, at all. Especially with this New York accent, no way, it's not gonna happen. So, Nikki, I want to talk a little bit about your novel. You wrote a novel called "Love You, Hated You," which is inspired by a real life heartbreak, which started as a song, then a screenplay. What inspired that transformation?
From the song to the screenplay,
Yes,
because honestly, when I hear music, I see stories. So it doesn't
sure.
even have to be mine. Like I just wrote a whole screenplay based off of somebody else's music. Like I just when I hear music, I see a story. And it made it easier because this was my story. But I thought about what would I want to happen differently than the character. So hers ends up being a love story, even though it's a little tumultuous with the guy she's with, but there is a love story component in it. And I think that's the one when we're in bad relationships. I don't know if you've ever been in one, but you get you get
Absolutely.
to a point where you know it's over, right? And then you start fantasizing about what it would be like if you saw somebody else or that this other person, what they would do, what they would be. So I created that person for the character in the book because I didn't get to have that in real life.
And that's Gabby,
Yes.
correct? I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay. Good, good,
Yeah.
good. So talk to us a little bit about the book and your journey, your thought process with the challenges you had in your relationship and how much of it is maybe friction and how much of it is actually reality.
So the book, Gabby's character, all of her instances are not mine, but the emotion behind it is. Because mine was actually a little too devastating to put. Like you guys wouldn't want to read that in a book and think like you're gonna recover with that with a love story. I don't think so.
For
So
sure.
but I did want the emotion to be there, and I also really, really wanted to tell people that read it, you know, why women and even men stay in abusive relationships because you hear all the time and with Cassie and Diddy, why did she stay?
Yes.
Why did she stay? That was the biggest question. It was pissing me off because it's not black and white. It's just not. So I wanted the story to kind of show why we stay longer than we should, and there are so many, I gave a blanket reason, but people have so many, like, little nuances as to why they say, "You stay." There are people that it's dangerous for them to leave, right? You're thinking, well, when he goes to work, you can just, but you don't know what really goes on behind those doors, right?
Right.
So mine didn't go deep like that, but I did want to explain, at least on surface level, why women stay. And it kind of plays more into what Cassie and Diddy went through. He was this charming, successful man that, you know, I don't like this word grooming, but it is kind of a
Sure.
grooming situation, whether they mean to or not, but they know how to manipulate. And so you get
Hmm.
caught up in this cycle. And then because when they're good, they're amazing, they're great. And he had the means to do this. Gabby's character, her guy, Goff, he has the means to continue when he messes up, he knows how to make up. And but he's also isolated her from her family, from her friends. So I just kind of wanted to show that part, but show, look, when I wrote the screenplay, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Tyrese Gibson and okay,
Absolutely.
so Tyrese is Golf. That's why I wrote
Hmm.
these are who I had written the characters for, and the good guy is Morris Chestnut. So
Okay.
when I wrote it as a screenplay, women love both of those men, right? So I did it like that on purpose so that people can see when you have two good looking men and one is abusive, but he is so charming, so this, so that, it makes it really hard to leave. It really does. I know it
Sure.
sounds
Sure.
superficial, but he has all the things, right?
Right.
So even though
Right.
this other guy who's just as gorgeous and just as successful, I've been here for so long, it's hard to go over there. I know what I'm
Right.
getting here. I know what triggers this guy. I know how to behave, if you will, right? So I just kind of wanted to dive into that and just show that there are so many reasons why we stay. And it's not that easy to just get up and pack your stuff up. And not when you've been invested. Now, if you can't leave after like 2 dates, something's wrong with you.
Right. That's different. Absolutely.
2 dates,
I
you see the
listen.
red flags, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna stick it out.
Yeah.
I can't help you. This isn't for you.
Right.
But
Right.
when you get in these relationships, because it's a slow burn. It's not like they get in
Sure.
and hit you upside the head, and because they know you'll be like, "Hey, I'm not dealing with this."
Mhm.
You don't get in and they're like, "Oh, you're fat and ugly." They don't do that off the top. It's
Right.
a slow burn. It's a slow
Yeah.
burn.
Right.
So by the time they get to that, you're like, "Oh my god, what?" And, "Oh, baby, I'm so sorry. I'm having a bad day." And
Sure.
it just continues this cycle. So that was one of the premises of the book. I just wanted to show that because I had somebody tell me, why don't you just leave? And they were right. I should have left, but it took me 7 years to do it,
Sure. Yeah.
so.
Yeah. So, Nikki, for an audience member that's listening or watching this episode today, and they're stuck, they may be in a similar situation that's 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. What is your advice to get that step forward in something positive and to finally make that decision to leave?
For me, I had to acknowledge, because I didn't even acknowledge I was in a bad relationship. You know what I mean? I mean,
Okay.
I knew it was bad, but I didn't realize like you shouldn't be in this. You know what I mean? I don't. It
Sure.
may sound weird, but it was like, no, he's okay. Like it's not that bad. I mean, when it's bad, it's bad, but when it's good, it's great, right?
Yeah,
But I was
absolutely.
telling a friend every day at lunch about what was going on the night before, and she would give me advice. And finally, one day, she said to me, I hate that you're going through all of this, but you don't listen to anything I say. So you don't want to
Mhm.
leave. So I don't want to hear about it anymore. And
Sure.
that was the day I was like, "Oh, I am saying the same stuff and I am complaining." And so I
Right.
started doing my own, what I call soul surgery, and trying to figure out why. Because people only treat you the way you allow them to treat you. So why am
Yeah.
I allowing this man to treat me like this? My mother didn't raise me like this. I didn't come from a background with abusive parents.
Hmm.
So what's going on? So for anyone that's in this, just before you make a move, understand the reasons why you're allowing this person to mistreat you. Because then once you get that together, you can start healing. And once you start healing, you
Hmm.
get your power back. And then you'll figure
Absolutely.
out, you'll get the people that whatever, something, Google, I don't know. But once you get your power, you're not even going to be able to stay there because you're so much into yourself and like, wait a minute, you're putting up those boundaries now, but just give yourself some grace because it's not going to happen overnight.
Sure. No.
It's not going to be,
Yeah.
you know what, that lady was right. I'm out of here. It's not going to go like that. I mean, you could try it and kudos if you can, but typically it's going to be a long process. They say it takes what, 12 times before a woman actually leaves. So
Wow.
give yourself some grace. Just start working on self though, because trying to leave broken is the easiest way for them to reel you back.
Sure.
So
Sure.
try to do, yeah, you're already there. Start working on you. Start trying to figure out what it is that you really want. What would make Nikki happy? See, for me, I wrote the guy in the book. What I would like to see happy.
Right.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? But
Right.
that was really what I was thinking. Like, yeah, I don't want this. I want that. So start thinking about what it is you really want and stop trying to put this person in that box because clearly they're not going to give
Gotcha.
you that. So,
Yep.
just it's really self-love and just learning about self because once you realize who you are, it makes a lot of sense as to why you're allowing things to happen. For me, I had just lost my mom. I had
Sure.
just moved to LA and I had no family, no support. And here was this guy.
Mm.
So, he, I had that
Yeah.
one friend at work and I lived on one side of town and I worked on the other side of town. So we didn't, she and I didn't even hang out. She was just my work
Sure.
friend. So there I was isolated and then it
Yeah.
kept going. So that I realized, okay, he was my savior, if you will, during that time.
Of course.
But then I did a little more deep diving later and was like, nah, that was from daddy issues because my
Mm.
dad didn't, the things that he was doing, my dad never did for me. Little things.
Sure.
So my dad
Sure.
was in the homes. It wasn't like he was an absent father. He was in the home, but he just wasn't a good father. So now I'm grabbing onto this because I never had that before. I never had that feeling before. I never been validated before like that. So
Hmm.
he knew that, and it
Yeah.
just kept going. So it was just,
Yeah.
I just had to figure out, okay, wait a minute. That part I do like, but the rest of it I don't. And it was a long stretch, but I made it out.
Yeah. And I'm happy you
Thank
did,
you.
Nikki. I really am. Nikki, sometimes when you think about it, if it's a male or female, they're stuck either because maybe they have a weak mindset, maybe they don't know exactly what direction to go. It could be financials, right? Maybe the woman is buying a man a watch, a nice watch that he wanted. Maybe the man is buying a female nice Chanel bag, for example. And people stay behind sometimes for material
Mhm.
things,
Mhm.
which is not right because deep inside you're broken.
Mhm. Mhm.
In the outside, you may seem flashy,
Mhm.
but you're broken in the
Yeah.
inside. And for anyone that's listening, I think it's extremely important to listen to Nikki's message and make that step forward.
Thank you. I think
Absolutely.
you should make that step. Trust me, you'll be a
Yeah.
lot happier. And here's the thing, I'll tell you this too, because I know some people out there like, I can't. I just love him so much because that's where I
Yeah.
was. I remember going to I was at some restaurant and I had gone by myself and I don't know, I think he and I had a fight or something, but I'm sitting there and I see this old couple in a booth and they're just all snuggled up. And I'm like,
Sure.
that's what I want. That's what I can't wait.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm trying
Right.
to hold
Yes.
on because I can see us
Mhm.
doing that. Like, why can't we just grow old and be,
Exactly. Yeah.
but we gotta let go of those ideals. And because now the person that's in my life is the best thing that's ever happened to me, right? But I would
Yes.
never, ever been able to be available for him because I'd still be piddling over here being mistreated. So
Sure.
trust me, I know it's scary. I know you think there's nobody else out there for me, and he's the only one that
Yeah.
understands.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, these were my words. Like he's the one, and nobody
Yeah.
wants to be alone. But let me tell you something. I'm okay with being alone.
Absolutely.
I got
Listen.
to a place where I was okay with being alone. But again, it comes with the self love. It's
Mhm.
the self care, the self love, what you will no longer tolerate. And that's the point you have to get to is what are your boundaries?
Sure. Sure. Nikki, love. Love is a deep and personal word. And someone may think they may love their partner, but don't know the meaning of love. Were you in that situation?
I would definitely say yes, because you can't love someone until you love yourself, right? I
Of
mean,
course.
that's the truth. I know it sounds really cheesy and all that stuff, but it is the truth. And look at it from the flip side. That person can't love you because they don't love themselves, because if they love themselves, they would never treat you that way,
Right.
you know?
Right. That is so true. You think about it. It's again, I'm going to go back. It's so difficult, and I really find that you and I is having this deep conversation because it's important to share that message. If we could touch one person, Nikki, today, I would say we did our job
Absolutely.
by sharing that message. And hopefully, if someone is listening, they can step forward
Yeah.
and make that change.
Yes.
Nikki, I love your artwork for your book.
Thank you.
It's fascinating. It's part of your expertise, I would say. So yeah, it's I just wanted to say that,
Thank you.
before we continue. It's lovely.
Thank you.
Nikki, so let's continue with Gabby and Bobby for a little bit more.
Gabby and Golf.
Now, there you go, Gabby Goff. Yes. Talk to us a little bit more about their story.
Well, I mean, it's really simple. They were together since high school. Um, and but as he started getting power, and he graduated college clearly and started becoming a lawyer. And the more successful he got, the more, I guess, controlling he
Sure.
got. And I don't think, for the most part, men or women really get into relationships thinking, hey, I can control that person. Some
Right.
people don't
Right.
typically. I mean, I'm sure there's some out there like that.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Yeah.
But I don't think the guy I was with, I know he wasn't like, oh, Nikki, she doesn't have any family out here. Let me just go ahead and reel her in. I know that
Sure.
wasn't the thought process.
Mhm.
But, you know, I don't know, you just gotta really
Yeah.
be mindful. And
Mhm.
so with Gabby, they started off in high school. Like, so we're kids, right?
Right. Right. Still
You're
learning.
still
Yeah.
learning,
Still
still
growing.
learning. But
Mhm.
you start getting, let's say he was a star on the football team, and then, well, he's
Mhm.
always the big guy. And all of a sudden, she's now his plus one
Right.
instead of his equal, right? So now
Mhm.
I'm just under him, and everything that happens to him is, I'm just included. I'm just, a part of, and you lose your identity. You lose your power
Sure.
unless you're working towards your own goal. And for Gabby and Goff, in the book, it talks about her dad. Like, her dad wanted her to do what he wanted her to do. And he wanted mom to do what mom wanted to do. And so everybody
Mhm.
did that. Her dream was to be an architect, but nobody
Mhm.
was supporting that. So, but here's this guy taking care of her, and mom told her, you just need a man to take care of you. So
Sure.
she got caught in that cycle, and yeah. And so then this nice, handsome man moves next door while
There you go.
while she gets thrown out of her house in the
Right.
hallway. And and he's like, damn, she is fine, but what is going on? Like,
Yeah.
and so, so it's contentious throughout, because now her man is like, because he tells her, nobody's ever going to want you until the
Right.
neighbor moves in. And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
minute.
Big right, 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 right. I love that.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait a minute, so I won't,
Mhm.
no spoilers here, but yeah, she has to make a decision. She has to make a decision because this person actually sees her for her. This is actually a decent person, a mature male, that's
Sure.
trying to enter into her life. But that doesn't mean she's like, okay, golf, I'm out. That is not even close.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, good. Nikki, when did Heartbreak shift from survival mode to creative feel?
Hmm. I think it for me, the heart is that creative fuel, happy or
Sure.
sad. It doesn't have
Mhm.
to be a bad thing. I think I operate on feelings and emotions. Not that I'm an emotional, dramatic person, but I'm
Yeah,
a
right.
feeler. I can like I can feel you. I feel like okay, I really want to sit and talk to you. There were some posts
Um,
I've been like, what time is it? I'm looking at the
Right.
clock on my computer, like, "Ooh, we only did 3 minutes." Oh,
Right,
shit.
right, right.
So so I'm a feeling kind of person, and I write from that. I write from,
Sure.
and it's not popular because even this story, people don't write about. People don't make. I mean, I don't know, but I've never heard of a domestic violence love story because that's at the end of the day, that's kind
It's
of
true.
what that
Yeah.
is.
Right.
But it's true. I like to come at things from a truthful perspective because you know we can get caught off guard in the love, and it's just so blissful, and those are those love stories, and those are needed. I love those too. But what about the ones that are really like tough? How do you get out, and how do you find love? How do you find yourself?
Sure.
And it's fiction. So I just everything I do though, I'm always asked backwards. Like, you know, I wrote the screenplay before the book. Usually it's the book, the
Okay.
screenplay. Like I'm just
Mhm.
I'm all
You are. Yeah. You are, yeah, yeah.
that way. So I have a show idea that I'm working on now that is so unpopular. The topic,
Mhm.
I know it's going to be unpopular, but I think it'll work because I'm always for the underdog. I'll say that.
Okay.
Always for the underdog. I don't know why, but I like to know why they operate the way they do. Because everybody
Sure.
has a side, right? Everybody,
Mhm.
let's pull up some guys if they're willing that did hit their woman or a woman in the past and they're no longer doing that now. Let's talk about why you were there. Why did you do that?
Yeah.
Because those men that, and I'm not talking about the ones that are just evil, beating you down. I'm not talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
that. I'm talking
Yeah.
about toxic relationships that can get
Sure.
ugly because
Mhm.
either you all are immature, they whatever the situation. I'm not talking about
Mhm.
that deeply disturbing stuff. But let's talk about what in your childhood made you become like this. Was that did you see dad talking crazy to someone?
Mhm.
My daughter in preschool got a black eye from this little boy, and
Oh
and
my.
because the little boy liked her, and
Mhm.
she didn't want to do. My daughter's feisty like me, so he didn't want to go on that playground at that moment,
Sure.
and so he
Mhm.
hit her, and he said, "My dad says this is how you tell women what to
Oh,
do."
no.
So we're talking preschool, not even kindergarten. They're 3, 4
I know.
years
I
old.
know. What? Still in diapers, Come on.
Literally, like, so
Come
but
on.
you've already planted that seed. Now we
Mhm.
just hope that his name is Giovanni. I will never know who I am. But we hope that Giovanni now, because my daughter's 26, so he's 26 years old. Hopefully he's a
Mhm.
good guy. Hopefully he was like, that was wrong.
Absolutely.
Hopefully my dad was wrong. Hopefully he does his work,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Right.
but we don't know.
Yeah.
But it starts
Yeah.
it everybody has a side, and I always like to look at the other person's version of why they're the way they are. Because even the guy that this book is loosely based on, he was adopted. He had a best friend that he thought had a good life. He wanted to be more like his friend. And so we only had problems when the friend was around,
Mm.
So, and full disclosure, me and this guy are still friends today,
Sure.
30 years later. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I talked to him maybe a month ago,
Mhm.
not the same person as
Of course.
then, we've both been married, divorced, have kids,
Mhm.
and we talk like adults now. And when we talk about that stuff, it's like, man, that was crazy,
Yeah.
but this was a person that grew up and matured. But I
Sure.
like to tell stories from the other side.
Yeah.
I like to
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
stories
yeah.
from the other side. I think we get enough of the regular stuff. So
Right.
that's me.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. I grew up in the Bronx in New
Mhm,
York, not so fun area to live in.
mhm.
So I saw a lot of growing up of abuse, crime, drugs. I'm Puerto Rican. So I'm hip hop community, and it was real growing
Right.
up. It was real, and it took a lot of growing and learning who I am as an individual.
Right.
I went through relationships. I went through my drinking days that every ordinary Monday, let's go
Right.
out to a
Right.
local bar and just hang out, see what's going to happen. It was horrible.
Right.
And it took so long. My mom, as a single mom, raising 4 kids.
Mm.
My dad, I would see every other weekend, and I'm happy that when we got older, we got that relationship.
Right.
But I'm talking about 20 years ago, it it was tough. It was tough,
Yeah.
and I didn't know the direction my life was going. Nikki, I was learning. I was clueless,
Right.
and thank God I chose a right path.
Right.
And you mentioned friends.
Mhm.
I did not follow that peer
Yeah.
pressure that my friends go, "Oh, yeah, we're doing this. Come," and drag that negativity
Mhm.
out of me so I could follow along and get locked up. Who knows?
And what are those friends
Mm.
doing now, though? Did they grow? Are they
Exactly.
locked up? Like,
Probably,
right.
probably. Who knows? Yeah, I lost touch, of course,
Mhm.
because I wanted a career. I wanted good things for my
Mhm.
life,
Mhm.
and you learn this is part of your growth
Yeah.
as a young kid. Your 20s, and as you learn, and
Yes.
have a family now, and I'm happy. It was a roller
Yeah.
coaster, I would say.
Yeah, you have to do
Yeah.
your work, I mean, that was you saying, "Hey, you know what? I don't want that for my life." But
Mhm.
then you have the friends that hopefully they at some point got to that point, but there are so
Right.
many the friend that my guy had, no,
Mhm.
didn't happen. He's still today living that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And what's
Yeah.
ironic is the guy that I was with, his family was a nice middle class working. Dad owned his own business. The guy
Sure.
he was
Sure.
trying to be like was a gang member
Oh, yeah. Total opposite.
because he
Yeah.
wanted street cred. He wanted to look tough. He wanted
Mhm.
to, be that
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
And so because his friend, don't you let that woman like he would write beautiful cards to me, and then I'd be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, yeah, so sweet." And then I had this
Right.
friend in the background, I do that, don't do that.
What are you
I was
doing?
into that,
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was it was the
Yeah.
influence. We were in our 20s though. You don't know. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
anybody in their 20s, you don't know everything.
Yeah. No.
If
No, you do
anything
not.
at all.
And it was right, and it's this and that. It's
Even
oh
though you
yeah.
think you have the world figured out, because I knew I did, but you don't.
No. No, that was, yeah, my 20s, it was something. It was a crazy experience, just a lot of partying and a lot of things. I look back today and say, "Why did I do that?"
Yeah.
All the money I spent in my 20s, I probably would have been a millionaire by now. If you think about it, all the money you just wasting on nonsense. I was like, "What? What did I do?
Right.
I should have invested all that back then."
Yeah, but what do you know? What do you know? You thought you know, because you
Yeah.
think it's never gonna run out and they'll get more
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but for me, I had it all set, like, my life is going to go like this because 'cause I'm walking this
Oh, yeah.
path,
Mhm.
and then you hit those pitfalls, and it's like, "Wait, what? Wait,
Yeah.
what?" And
Right.
and and that
Right.
is but that is the growth, and that is what you learn, That's when you
Right.
learn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Nikki, I want to shift this a little
Mhm,
bit, and talk a little bit about your businesses. You have a few businesses. One is the Impress Company.
mhm.
Did I say that correctly?
Empress, yes.
Okay. And Strikeout Organization.
Yes.
So let's start a little bit about Strikeout Organization. I believe it's a movement where every game changes lives. I love that name and that mission behind it.
Thank you.
Talk to us about it, please.
So the goal is the premise is we have little leaguers, playing
Mhm.
ball, and I typically have a major league baseball player come out, sign balls and all that to raise money um, and to get donations because each game we're striking out something. So
Mm.
the last game we were striking out homelessness. So all the money and the toys that we got went to a homeless shelter. We want to strike out childhood cancer, strike out, so that those proceeds could go to an organization like St. Jude. So that's the premise, that we try to strike out something either each game or each season. So I'm in the process of revamping for 2027. So we may
Sure.
just do like this year, we're going to focus on one thing or two things that we strike out. So that's pretty much the premise of it.
That's excellent.
Thank you.
And if people out in your local neighborhood that's looking for something, an organization, homeless, you mentioned homeless, how can they reach you? Or how can they find a place through your website,
Yeah.
your phone numbers, or yeah?
Look, I have so many websites. I think it's strikeout.org. Um,
I will be posting
Thank
it
you.
on the episode description. Don't worry
But
about it. I just wanted
yeah. So and currently, and this is probably going to be ongoing. I have access to Section 8 and affordable housing. So if people have Section 8 and are looking for a place within the LA area, or affordable housing, Strikeout can help them with that.
that's awesome. That's so important
Yes.
because Section 8, even in New York, it's you see so many people that's in shelters,
Yes.
and it's hard to find that guidance
Yeah.
of where to start, how to fill out the applications,
Mhm.
or whatever the case is. And I'm glad that you have an organization like
Yeah.
that, that people could you can help people that in need,
Yes.
especially their families.
Yes.
So thank you for doing
Of
such an amazing
course. Of
job there.
course.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm on this
And
earth to do.
there you go. I love it. Your mission is
To help people.
phenomenal.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Keep on. Right. It's important. I stopped doing it when I lived in New York City. I every Thanksgiving Eve, we will go around and give out turkeys. So a lot of us will chip in and buy small turkeys,
Mhm.
nothing so big, and we will go to in a corner somewhere in Brooklyn, the Bronx, and we'll just give out 100 turkeys. The first 100 people we see,
Yeah.
and then it's fascinating. And then I would go home, spend time with my family, and it made me feel so good that we helped
Mhm.
families in need in a special time of
Yeah.
year when thanks is so important. And you know what? It was great. I miss it. I miss it, but it was
Giving
amazing.
feels so much better than getting, just,
Sure,
I don't
sure.
know, it's something about making somebody else happy that just, or helping them out of a situation is just, it's so rewarding, and I don't get paid for it. So don't think I'm making
Sure.
any money
Right.
doing that. But it's just so awesome to see somebody get some keys to their home, or
Mhm.
you know just a kid getting toys and all that. I even had an event where I blocked off a whole street and did for back to school event.
Yeah,
I had game trucks, I had bounce houses, I face paint and DJ, the whole
yeah,
nine, and just to see the kids just so happy, and the parents, they didn't have to come out of their pocket for anything. Each backpack was full of school supplies. I had over 200
great.
200 backpacks full. So,
Wow, that's
yeah,
awesome.
so it was just great, and for the parents, I had free Starbucks for them,
Mhm.
just but it to see, like, a little relief, like, "Okay, don't have to worry about a backpack,
Mhm.
don't have to worry about supplies for a while," and, that it's just so awesome. It's just a good
Yeah,
feeling to see community and see people happy, because life is so hard and stressful, and
yes,
especially now, this economy is
absolutely.
crazy,
It is.
so
It
whatever
is.
I can do to bless somebody, I definitely wanna do that.
Yeah, that's awesome, Nikki. You deserve to be blessed.
Thank you.
That's awesome, and you are blessed. You're doing so much great things for the community, and just continue the great work.
Thank you, I will.
Definitely. Nikki, so you have another nonprofit that you work on, the Impress Company.
That's not
Talk to us
nonprofit.
a little.
That's
Okay, it's not nonprofit. I
that's
apologize for
for
that.
profit.
So, for talk to us about the mission. I believe it was you started it in 2020.
Yep. Yeah, somewhere
Yeah.
around there.
Yeah.
Um, I grew up Catholic, and then I switched religions, and then I'm like, I don't wanna be bound by religion. I started kinda going out on my own uh, not search for God because I already knew God. I already knew that's what I call him, God. But I just had a problem with all these religions and restrictions. And I'm like, if God is love, then what? So anyway, a friend of mine had a metaphysical store, which I didn't even know what metaphysical was. I thought she had a bunch
Yeah.
of rocks. And what is
Yeah.
that? And what is sage? And what is all this? But as I started understanding like energy from the earth, and I'm
Okay.
such a hippie now, it's not even
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my thing is, I just want to share with those that are interested, that part of life. Like you can subscribe to whatever religion you want. I have no problem with that. Actually, I think everybody needs some kind of foundation, right? But let's not
Absolutely.
put God in a box because he's bigger than
Hmm.
that. So the Empress Company basically is my metaphysical store. So I sell crystals, I sell incense, I do readings, um,
Hmm.
that type of thing. However, to segue into the new mission that I have, I'm working on what's called the One Summit, which will be
Okay.
a big event. Hopefully, after this one, it'll be yearly. The One Summit is for all religions to come together. It'll be in the summer of 2028 here in LA. And I want everyone to come to the table and let's just talk about it because Christians think that they know everything. And I'm only going to speak on Christians because that's what I grew up as. So I can't speak on
Yeah.
anybody else's religion. But I know within the Christian community,
Right.
it's a lot of bickering because the
Hmm.
Catholics think they're better than the Baptists, and the Baptists think they're better than the
Yep.
Lutherans, and the Lutherans think they're better than the
Yeah.
Protestants. I can keep going, right? Everybody's right. Everybody knows. And I'm like, what are we? We're talking about the same God. So let's come to the table, not just Christians, all religions, because you may call them Allah, you may call them Jehovah, whatever you call them, we're still talking about the
Sure.
same higher power.
Hmm.
And you can call him that, but let's take him out of the box. Let's stop saying that my way is the right way and you're going to go to hell if you don't do it my way. And all of this stuff. So the One Summit is just it's going to be an amazing thing. We're going to have the One Summit choir, which is going to be all voices, meaning race, ethnicities. They'll do gospel. They'll do whatever. We're still building it out, but I have a whole it's a 5-day event, by the way. So
Sure.
each
That's awesome.
yeah, each day you'll have a new speaker and just to talk about their religion. Let's talk about it because we're so busy condemning everybody's religion. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about why you feel like you should go to hell for being gay and why you feel like
Right.
you should just live your life. Let's have a conversation instead of judging and putting people down. The whole point is I hope is that we can just all come together in love because if we come together in this little space, we're going to spread that out, right? When we go home
Sure.
and talk and hey, how was that one summit? And let's just keep it going. So that's what I'm working on now.
Yeah. That's great. I wish you the best success with that project.
Thank
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. It takes a
you.
lot behind the
Yes.
scenes to figure it out.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never done something like that before, but I'm sure there's a lot
Yes.
involved. Yeah. So, Nikki, to respect your time, I want to, before we conclude, I always like to ask my guests one final question. So, what final thoughts or message would you like to share with the world?
Give yourself some grace. I know I never gave myself grace. I thought
Hmm.
I was supposed to be perfect. I thought life was supposed to be perfect. And so when you think that way, you operate in a way and you get disappointed a lot because life is not perfect. But
Yeah.
give yourself some grace. That doesn't mean not to stay on your goals and all of that, but you will make mistakes. You will fail. Get up and keep going. Give yourself some grace. You can do it, but don't think that everybody's just going to open up the doors for you to walk in. You need these experiences. You might need that relationship. Please get out of it, but you might need it to show where you are weak, where you need to heal, what needs to be figured out so that when you go into the next relationship, you're a different person. And listen, I went to the next relationship and I was a different person and I married this fool and it was still wrong. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I get it.
It
Yeah, yeah,
wasn't that one, but
right.
okay, so now we gotta, well, now why did I do that? But I gave myself some grace, and
Mhm.
I took 7 years just to be alone and focus on my children and, and learn a lot about myself, and then in walks the most amazing person ever. We've been together 7 years, so no issues, so give
Yeah,
yourself some grace. Don't beat up on yourself. Don't be like, "Oh my god, I hate myself for doing it." It's okay. It's part of your journey. It's a part of you becoming.
sure. Nikki, I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Nikki, I really enjoyed this conversation today.
Say
It's been a pleasure, and I can't wait for you and I to reconnect and have another conversation.
definitely.
Take
You
care. Thank you for your time.
absolutely. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Before I go, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for pressing play. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching on YouTube. I truly appreciate you taking the time to be here with me. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other platform, follow the podcast so you don't miss out on the next episode. Because we're going to keep having real honest conversations like this. And remember, your influence grows every time you choose courage over comfort. I'm JV. Stay curious, stay consistent, and keep influencing others. Thank you, and peace out.